It's Monday, December 9, 2024, and we are on the set of Inside Nigeria, your breakfast show leadership television. My name is Winifred Weber, your host on the program. And today's program, on the first segment of this show, we are looking at front headline stories of some national newspapers, including Nigeria's most influential newspaper, Leadership. And as we normally do on the program, we like to see what leadership is leading with this Monday. Let's go to Leadership newspaper for its front headline stories. Leadership. Leadership's leading story says late budget presentation alters January-December cycle. Late budget presentation alters January-December cycle. There is fear committees may not do thorough job. Proper MDA's appearance uncertain. 2024 budget may be given leeway, Senate. Delay not linked to tax bills. These are kickers to the leading story today on Leadership Monday night 2024. And today's leading story is on late budget presentation alters January-December cycle. Beside that, we have Governor Bago gives 100 medical students scholarship. Federal government dismisses viral ambassadorial list. Assad's regime falls in Syria. Mahama returns as Ghana president after 3 attempts. Sarah to Nas assess impact of tax reform bills on human rights. Assess impact of tax reform bills on human rights coming from Sarah to National Assembly. And on the business boss, we have violation. FCCPC cautions LPs against obstructing inquiry. FCCPC cautions LPs against obstructing inquiry. From that, we move to the story above the masthead for Leadership's Person of the Year, and that is Alhaji Aliko Dangote for his relentless pursuit of innovation and investment that has catalyzed Africa's self-sufficiency. Aliko Dangote is Leadership Person of the Year award. And with that, we move to the page 3 of the paper, where we have a permanent page stand. Today's stand is on forfeiture of 753 houses and matters arising. On forfeiture of 753 houses and matters arising. Recently, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission (EFCC) won a landmark forfeiture of 753 duplexes in Abuja against unnamed owners. After the announcement by the commission, names have been flying on the media space on the identity of the owner of the duplexes. This recent seizure is not just a legal action, it is a damning indictment of a national moral failure that has long stripped our country of its potential and dignity. These are paragraphs from that stand today on Leadership on forfeiture of 753 houses and matters arising. From today's stand, we move over to the back page of Leadership newspaper, where we have a Monday column with Dakuku Petty side. Monday's column with Dakuku Petty side. And today he is writing on Ghana. He says Ghana on my mind with Dakuku Petty side. Ghana on my mind. Of course, we had the election whereby the former president, with after 3 attempts, was declared the winner of the polls conducted over the weekend. In the heart of West Africa, where the echoes of drums narrate ancient tales of resilience, hope, and ambition, one nation rises as a luminous star in the ever-changing tapestry of democracy, Ghana. Its journey, marked by scars of struggle, is a testament to the resilience and determination of its people. And in quotes, for Nigeria, the region's largest democracy, this light is both an invitation and a challenge. Congratulations to the president-elect. Ghana on my mind, Monday column with Dakuku Petty side. Is on this note we conclude review of front headline stories on the Guardian newspaper, on the Leadership newspaper, this Monday. For more, log on to the website of Leadership, www.leadership.ng. From Leadership newspaper, we move over swiftly to a sister publication, a weekly business paper on the stable of Leadership. We have national economy. National Economy's weekly headline story today says, bleak Christmas beckons as poor Nigerians grapple with high food prices. Bleak Christmas beckons as poor Nigerians grapple with high food prices. Additional 17 million fall into poverty, according to World Bank. And just beneath that leading story with a photo, we have forgotten heroes who will save Nigeria's retirees from pension woes. Last weekend, the military retirees locked down the Ministry of Finance over his unpaid pension. And on national economy today, forgotten heroes who will save Nigeria's retirees from pension woes is a question you have to find answers to on the website of national economy. And if you are with the paper, you move to page 17 for continuation of that story. Above the masthead of national economy, Dangote others get leadership awards. Dangote others get leadership awards. And for the editorial on national economy this week, we have Nigeria's fight against corruption on International Anti-Corruption Day. Nigeria's fight against corruption on an International Anti-Corruption Day. The editorial on national economy this week. For more, log on to the website of National Economy for continuation of these headline stories. From national economy, we move over to Nigerian Tribune. Nigerian Tribune newspaper is next on our review this Monday. And the leading story there says PDP chair pro-Damagun forces plan takeover of BOT. PDP chair pro-Damagun forces plan takeover of BOT. Riders, other stakeholders mount pressure on David Mark to take over in February. 67 board members face uncertainty over plot. Wabara under pressure over stance on tenure of acting chairman. States have power to nominate tenured BOT members, National Publicity Secretary. These are stories that run on page 4 of Nigerian Tribune. PDP chair pro-Damagun forces plan takeover of Board of Trustees, BOT. Underneath that leading story, at University of Oxford Management Conference, $100 billion in failed mega projects in Nigeria presents development opportunities, Jimoh Ibrahim says. Multiple handling charge leave $1.5 billion Lagos-Ibadan cargo train stranded at Lagos port. Consumer rights violation, FCCPC cautions airpeace against obstructing inquiry. Data by DMO validates Osun's success in debt management. Data by DMO validates Osun's success in debt management, Adeleke spokesperson. Tax reform bills have no provisions for consultants on tax collection. Oyedele still on the development story on tax reform bills. Oyedele says tax reform bills have no provisions for consultants on tax collection. How inflation, high cost of raw materials dampen manufacturers' confidence in food, beverage, textile sectors. The story continues on page 7 of the paper. How inflation, high cost of raw materials dampen manufacturers' confidence in food, beverage, textile sectors. From that, we move to the stories above the masthead of Nigerian Tribune. FM's Eurobond issuance booster forest reserves, Naira stability. FM's Eurobond issuance booster FS, that is forest reserves, national Naira stability. The story runs on page 14 of Nigerian Tribune. Ghana's ex-president John Mahama wins re-election. Rival concedes defeat. Tinubu congratulates him. Assad flees to Russia as Syrian rebels topple government. Opposition leader calls for 18-month transition period before elections. With that, we conclude review of front headline stories on Nigerian Tribune this Monday. For more, log on to the website of Vanguard newspaper. From Vanguard, we move over to The Guardian. The Guardian is the next paper we have on our menu this Monday. Vanguard's leading story on tax reform bills States high 180% hike in VAT earnings amid push for fiscal federalism. Tax reform bill states high 180% hike in VAT earnings amid push for fiscal federalism. As normal with the Guardian newspaper's leading stories, they have illustrations beneath it, and I'll take it one by one. We have VAT growth, that is VAT, value added tax growth trend since increase to 75%. We have in 2021 2.07 trillion naira, in 2022 2.5 trillion naira, in 2023 we have 3.64 trillion naira, in 2024 from the 30s we have 4.78 trillion naira, and in 2024 we have 6.36 trillion naira. So in 2024 growth, we have in first quarter 1.43 trillion naira. Second quarter, we have 1.56 trillion naira. And in third quarter of 2024 growth, we have 1.78 trillion naira. And we have scenario mapping for VAT reforms. Most likely scenario with reform, we have yearly VAT 11.22 trillion naira. Monthly VAT of 935 billion naira, and state's monthly share will be 486 billion naira. Scenario mapping for VAT reforms, that is with these tax reform bills before the National Assembly, with the likelihood of passage, we are likely going to have a scenario where we'll have yearly VAT of 11.22 trillion naira, monthly VAT of 935 billion naira, state's monthly share will be 486 billion naira. And most unlikely scenario, we have most unlikely scenario with reform. Yearly VAT 15 trillion naira, monthly VAT 1.25 trillion naira, and state's monthly share of 650 billion naira. Then yearly VAT of most likely scenario without reform will have yearly VAT of 8.47 trillion, monthly VAT of 706 billion naira, state's monthly share 325 billion naira. And most unlikely scenario without reform, we have a yearly VAT of 12.5 trillion naira, monthly VAT of 1.04 trillion naira, state's monthly share of 480 billion naira. These are likely scenarios created by the Guardian, considering in view of the tax reform bills before the National Assembly, and of course which has continued to generate controversies. Underneath that leading story on tax reform bills, NSC TUC, you have failed workers labor group flees NSC TUC. The story runs on page 9 of the Guardian. You failed workers labor group flees NSC TUC. Ghana's electoral process inspired by Nigeria, says INEC. Minister operators FCCPC bicker over fair pricing regulatory rights. NCDC tells health facilities to intensify checks for SARS-CoV-2 variant. Measures tax bills impact on human rights, Serap takes NAS. Funding weak political will bedeviling varsity system. Stakeholders tax states on 2030 family planning targets. And on the strip on the Guardian newspaper, we have legal tender and uneasy path to transiting from old to new notes. Legal tender and uneasy path to transiting from old to new notes. And with that, we conclude the review of front headline stories on the Guardian newspaper this Monday. For more, log on to the website of the Guardian, www.guardian.ng. From the Guardian, we move over to the last paper on our menu this Monday morning, and that paper is Vanguard. Vanguard says how non-appointment of ambassadors is hurting Nigeria. How non-appointment of ambassadors is hurting Nigeria, coming from envoys. They say bilateral agreements, MOUs face hiccups. Embassies operate without ambassadors for 15 months. Tinubu guest list may announce nominees this week, while experienced credible people must be appointed as ambassadors. Those are kickers to the leading story why how non-appointment of ambassadors is hot in Nigeria. Tinubu hails Mahama after Ghana's presidential poll win. NIN modification, Nigerians narrate bitter experiences as banks NIMC trade blames. Tax reform bill, Senate committee meets with AGF tomorrow, says today. Multiple taxes, road issues, vandalism stifling telecom sector. Atcon. Fair hike, Keyamo FCCPC at war over airbase. EFCC intensifies investigation of NFF. From that, we move to the stories above the masthead of Vanguard. Any threat to Nigeria's security, internal, external, will face justice, NSA. Marketers may leave petrol from Port Harcourt refinery this week, coming from Ipman. Lastly, on the cover of Vanguard, why Naira is a massive recovery race across all markets by bankers. That concludes the review of front headline stories on Vanguard newspaper this Monday, December 9, 2024. For continuation of those headline news, log on to the website of Vanguard and other papers before it. It's also on this note we bring to an end the first segment of this show, Inside Nigeria. Don't forget to join us for the second segment of the program coming in shortly. Don't go away. Stay tuned.
Masu kallon mu kar a manta kuna tare ne da shirin Leadership Hausa na Barka da Hantsi Najeriya da muke gabatarwa a ɗakin watsa shirye-shiryenmu na Last Word da ke babban birnin tarayya Abuja. A ci gaba da kasancewa.
Yes, you're welcome back to the program Inside Nigeria. In case you're just joining us, my name is Winifred Ugbebo, your host on the program. And of course, as you can see, I have with me my modern guest in the studio. He has PhD in political economics and public affairs analyst, Ali Elias. Thank you so much.
Good morning. Thank you for
Last week I had you virtual.
Right, we're exploring that aspect too.
Yes. Yes, you're welcome back. We are discussing the, call it developing story, far away Ghana or neighboring country Ghana. They conducted their presidential election on Saturday, and we had the winner Mahama returning back as president, and his closest rival, the current president, has already considered defeat and congratulated him. However, in his congratulatory message, Nigeria's INEC chairman said it was a lessons or whatever from Nigeria's election. I said, is there parallel?
Well, the fact is, what do you expect him to say? He likes to praise himself. The fact is just a far clearer truth compared to what he's saying. Now, first and foremost, do you know that 70% of registered voters in Ghana voted?
70%.
70%
Wow.
of registered voters.
And you cannot say that about Nigeria.
In Nigeria, it's less than 30%.
Local government.
It's less than 30%. That's an indictment on INEC.
Confidence.
There's no confidence on their processes, and there is no level of awareness on their process. So Ghana have actually explained that yes, we have our people committed to development of our country. They are interested because they are benefiting from the processes itself. I think that's a clarion call to him. And in terms of learning from, it's possible that Ghana's actually always come to actually see our processes. We also go there improved upon. So, but the fact is that you cannot compare their processes. In fact, I think they are much more educated politically than Nigeria as it were, because we also see most of their electorate and most of the people that participate in the election, they are not audio. How do I call it? Audio participants. They came out en masse. You know, in Nigeria we're always on social media.
Yes.
You know, especially our youth, we must make mention of that. Our youth will always go on social media. I support A. But on the day of election,
but we actually saw a marked increase for new registration during that 2023 elections.
Yes.
Yes. You know, however, unfortunately, the turnout at the end of the day, although many people still came.
I want to say no, without prejudice. Let's even say the Nigerians have improved because there's much more interest in politics now because unlike before. But the fact is that doesn't really reflect. But so to some extent, when you spoke in Lagos, Labour Party won in Lagos, you know.
But we also saw South Africa too when their votes were being downloaded real time or online.
And that's where I want to say.
And that's what people are saying.
Exactly.
But however, the politicians will not let it be. They keep telling you. We even have some senators telling us that time that there is no network in their villages, so they were against.
Those processes.
And many people are of the opinion that until we have situation whereby our electoral acts is amended to allow for transmission of results.
I think it's the major thing that we must start seeing it all the time. And you must also say something about Ghana. I think their diaspora people voted. I think on time, and their police, their what have you. I mean, those people that will not be able to vote, they vote on time. That's another thing we must do. We must improve our logistics. We must allow people in the diaspora to vote. Perhaps I don't think it's too much for Nigeria to actually vote electronically, even 50% of the voters, because actually over 50% of Nigerians has NIN. Yes. We can use that and send our vote through a particular platform. That would have reduced the issues, just like in America. You know, you would have seen people voted, so there will not be need to collapse the tension. You know, by the time you are going to the poll, that's when tension rises. But you have less people going to the poll.
Yes, and that's when you have talks trying to cause mayhem.
A lot of mayhem, a lot of
disturbances. But if not, you have less people going there.
Exactly, and it won't disrupt or affect our day-to-day activities. I think we need to go up beyond that because the technology is available already. It's just for us to tap into those technologies. But it's good that they actually went. And I'm also expecting Nigerians who went there to watch the processes to come up with their own reports too. Maybe that would have questioned or counter what Mahmoud Yakubu was saying.
But now we are still on that election. What is the way forward? What are the lessons learned? Because we have a situation whereby the incumbent actually congratulating the winner Mahama over his victory, and they said during this period it was marked by so many deaths, so many inflation in Ghana. Of course, the people voted with their votes that no, they want a change.
And that's why I said I appreciate Ghanaians because it's like if they have a consensus that no, we are not going this direction again. We are going to this direction. Be it as it may, I think we must not credit the vice president only. We must still come back home and say thank you, Jonathan. Because Jonathan has done something that precedes what he's actually doing. We may not see that in the last election, but actually Jonathan came out and said and called President Muhammadu Buhari that congratulating him. Remember, Jonathan was incumbent the way they are also incumbent. So it's a good one. The Africa is moving. It's a good win for Africa and its entirety.
Okay. So perhaps there are lessons to be learned.
A lot of lessons. Lesson of congratulating your position. You don't hit over the politics. Because by the time you are not congratulating, it brings a lot of issues.
Perhaps it also boils down to the process.
Maybe they are trusting the process itself. When you trust the process
know that
itself.
You saw what plays out during the election day.
It's clear to you. So you don't have it. So that's why we want INEC to be much more transparent in their processes.
All right. Thank you so much. Now, over the weekend, I think there was a alert emanating from a letter alerting them hospitals about a new COVID variant. We don't know how true it is.
Well, I think we have a
So,
responsive.
how ready
I think we have a
is
responsive minister now, and this is going to justify his responsiveness more. So we
yes,
are challenging him to stay up to
yes,
reality.
yes.
The variance, I think, is in about 29 countries, and there was they debunk it that it is in Nigeria, that they've not discovered anyone from any hospital. But the problem is that I am convinced that we have learned from Ebola,
Yes.
from COVID-19.
No, but we tried in containing
That's what I'm saying. That we
Ebola,
have
because I was
learned
on the field that time.
exactly that we have learned.
But for that COVID-19, it was just sheer, how do you call it, luck.
It was I think we were not
because
hit.
we didn't handle it very
We are
well.
not
Remember,
hit
Nigeria did not
as we
even
really
put in
made it.
place surveillance.
Exactly.
People were still allowed to travel. People were still allowed to come in. As and when people, perhaps even that February, I was in Dubai, and of course, some cases were found in Dubai.
Right.
I expected that as I'm coming back, we'll be condoned off and postponed. Nothing like that. We're allowed to just walk in. I was surprised, and I'm like,
I think we have a minister now that we are thinking is in the right processes to make sure he fixes things. This is a challenge to him. He should do more. Because he's overseeing those that are going to look at it. But I think Nigeria is much more aware too.
Yes,
as citizens, we know what COVID-19 did to us. So
yes,
that consciousness is actually in us. So I think we'll be able to contain. But we pray it won't go beyond expectation.
Okay. Thank you so much. Now, leadership leading stories on the budget this today, and talking about that the late presentation we actually is going to alter the January-December cycle.
I think I'm afraid we will not be able to pass the budget this year. I can tell you because how many days to the end of the year now?
We just have
to have a thorough job, no matter what. We cannot succeed in doing that, and that's it's a negative externality for Mr. President because Buhari has tried in that area, January to December budget, but the way things are now, I'm not sure because if you look at budget process, it's not easy. They have to invite some people to present. They have to also check even at now we don't have scorecard for this present ongoing budget. But I think it's because of the tax reform, if you ask me.
Yes, but however, it's just that Nigeria goes through the ritual of budget presentation and all whatnot. But has there been a critical look to ensure that to look at budget performance?
That's what I'm saying. That ideally, let's look forward to it quarter by quarter. It's supposed to come out of the president and said we have achieved XYZ for this period, and this. So by now we would have been able to measure it. But as it is now, the only hope we are having now is that when the president wants to present the budget, he would have said we have achieved 60% of 2024 budget. But I think we have not even achieved much because we see that they are still going to borrow money.
And even as it
I expect that borrowing of money should go to
the budget is already has already failed because if you look at the benchmark, 1,400 naira for a dollar.
We would say
when you and I know that officially it's 1,600 naira.
No, dollar is around 1.6 now.
And they bench it against
it depends on the what do I call it, the indices they are looking at. Those that are looking at is the forecast. Budget is a proposed income and expenditure and they are also looking at what they are putting in place. The only thing we will tell them is that please be realistic. Right, be realistic because it will definitely affect them again. That's the thing. So and they are looking at oil benchmark as well. A lot of benchmark are putting in place. I remember IMF is taking the lead in telling us what not to do. Perhaps maybe that's what they are banking on, which is not correct. We must come to the reality of the economy to have a proposal for next year.
All right, thank you so much. Now, just before we go, we are also going to be looking at the show. We're on PDP. There seems to be no end in sight for the protracted crisis in the party.
I don't know.
And because of that, that's affected democracy because there's no real parties. The leading opposition to provide.
I think it's quite pathetic that the most experienced political party in Nigeria is falling and they continue to fall. But the fact, do you see that defection also to APC?
APC.
That's the wrong sign too.
And from former governor of Delta State.
Delta State, the daughter. So that's
we had 4 Labour Party.
Labour is even the worst thing. You expect Labour to be a very vibrant opposition.
4 of them.
So and that means Obi and his team are also losing.
But the strange part of it was the one they call a motorcycle rider in Kaduna.
Right, exactly. Yeah, you know what? I think it's political. You know, he's looking at 2027. Who will vote for him? You know, he's looking at how to canvass for votes. You know, a lot of things, and I don't blame him. I think if you know things that they come with the tsunami of Obi.
Exactly. You just took the words out of my mouth, because that's how he defeated the 3-time.
Exactly. He came with the tsunami of Obi. So he wants to continue. That thing is quite soothing, right? So he's appreciating and maybe want to sustain that position. You know, that position come 2027, and that's a political gimmick. You know, sometimes it's not how you get it, you get there. So he got there and he want to sustain getting there. Perhaps you would have seen the sign that my people will not be able to vote for me in the next come. But
however, what about Ibori's daughter in a state that is mainly a PDP state?
Well,
not defected to APC?
I'm sure there is a calculation behind it. He must have even consulted his father, her father rather, before. So there's always a sign to everything. So don't look at politicians just making decisions. She must have consulted, look into things, and they must have extrapolate as it were that this is what will happen, this is what will happen. So a lot of things are being considered. Perhaps his father would have also say, well, with the way things are going, I'm not going to start moving, because I can tell you, the body is still very strong.
Oh yes, it's very, very strong. But however, he has kind of taken a back seat, given what is happening. Like for instance, now 2027, I saw a report that he just are conversing for 2027. That is their turn.
What do you mean by that? As in their own environment?
In that data.
Okay, that's another thing. That's why I said a lot of games are actually going on. So they must have been that they are teaching towards that area. Let's see.
So at the end of the day, what are we going to have in PDP? Because we have a pro-Damagun group now wanting to be part of board, and you know what that means.
We have an ideological problem, and the fact is that inability for them to weigh heavy stick on people that actually abuse processes. You know, that's what is coming now. And that's why people like Wiki will say, and PDP.
But however, there was a report that came out, and which was a paper said in a bad turn, Damagu actually called for conduct of election in those 23 seats in Rivers State.
Well, it depends. Maybe he's changing mind, but I don't think
because he's a wicked
it's going to be a difficult thing for him to.
So for him to not call for election,
we need to confirm that.
Yes, the report was everywhere.
We need to confirm, because he's a pro-Wiki person, so it's pretty difficult for him to change things. And you know, Wiki don't actually give up. When you say you give you another, good, reasons for you to continue to stay with him.
But however, you said that they have to appeal to some people. Just before we leave this PDP issue for now, you think? Don't you think Wiki is one of those they should appeal to or appease?
I think Wiki is one of those they should sanction, because it has gone.
Sanction or appeal to?
Well, I think sanction, because if you continue to treat people like this continuously, the abuse will come. It will even kill PDP.
But sanction. But don't forget that there was a man that actually was financing the party, funding the party, even when others did not give up on him.
Are you seeing PDP? We can coming back to PDP and say against Tinubu APC. That's the question. So we must also look at the future itself. Is it better to pamper him, or to also tell him that what you are doing to his face is actually wrong? So they have to choose one. If they don't choose one, it will kill that political party. Because people like Umba of Enugu, is it not PDP governor? Right, I'm seeing them that over time they may also consider leaving the political party. These are the things they must be afraid of.
Okay. Yeah, thank you so much. Just before we go, we are still on the developing issue on tax reform bills. What are we having? Because Bugudu has also come out to say that no is actually for good, not tax reform targeted at stimulating economic activities, employment generation orders coming from Bagudu.
Well, I think overall, the tax reform is a beautiful thing to happen to Nigeria at this point in time. But there's what is called
And he
political
welcomes
economy.
constructive debate on reform based on
Yes.
religious tribal sentiments.
You know, we have political
Insists
economy.
Tinubu means well for Nigeria should be supported.
All
to the
agreed.
country.
But what about political economy? So what is political economy? The interplay between economics and politics.
Yes.
And I can tell you, politics will always have its way. Because people at the helm of affair are politically elected. So they will see what is actually to benefit them. So I think Tinubu is also failing in that area. He must be able to approach this thing politically as well. You can't just come, let me give you an example. Why people have cautious optimism with Tinubu decisions. The day he removed fuel subsidy, it was on his own decision. And he did not consult anybody. When he also failed the Naira, it was just directly. There was no consultation. So when he also bring tax reform, it's an executive bill. And he wants all Nigeria to take it to line now. So sometimes politically people will think no. There's a point at which he need to consult us also. So I think he should do more in terms of consultation. And he has his time now. This one that today, the Attorney General is meeting with the Senate Committee on Tax Reform, which is a good one. So that's his time to actually go back to the people that are actually feeling so change that see how it is.
But do you think that because from everything from the recent development is like Tinubu is actually carrying the day, because given the fact that coming from Bagudu, some sections of the north are actually in support.
No, I told you, Jubril women came and said yes, it's a good one. No, yes. I can also tell you that majority of them supported it.
I also read the report from Oyedele that Friday. It was still on THISDAY newspaper, and of course they put him in quote. It said it's better they even agree now. And don't forget, it's something that I've always said. The case is still pending in Supreme Court.
Yes.
Only God knows when Supreme Court will rule on it.
That is Rivers and Kogi and
Lagos Lottery Act. It took 15 years
to make it
rule on
reverse it back.
To reverse it back. So heaven knows when it will take for the Supreme Court to also rule it. So, but actually, he said that it's even better for them now to accept 60% than maybe when the court will rule.
I think 60% is acceptable now.
That the court is likely to rule in favor of
the federal government.
No, of the states.
Of the state.
Rivers and supported by Lagos State, for them to be collecting their VAT. And say at that time it will be 100%. So it's not better they just accept 60% now.
No.
Which makes sense.
I think even 60% was okay, because according to Governor Blasara, I said they were looking at 20% before. Okay. They now moved to 60%, which is also good. So that's why I said the area that is remaining there is the political side of it. Okay. There's need for Tinubu to reach out to them. Because I know they keep saying that we gave you 62%, in vote. So that means they are trying to say no, you cannot just make some decisions. Consider us. So I remember even this man actually said Ali Ndume, but he seemed to be the most
vociferous opposition to the bill.
And he's saying that no, he doesn't say it's bad, but there is need for consultations, which is key. It's not bad to consult politically. There is need to embark on consultation because it's called politics. So, and you remember that politically, this positive intention of president can be turned around. What they'll be telling people in the north will be different things. I have here a honorable of house saying that the decision will affect Islamic law, and they said that therein, if you are bequeathing inheritance to your children, that government is going to take 25% of that inheritance.
Wow.
That's why most northern people are having issue. I'm trying to look at the section in the bill. So there's something that government Tinubu need to look at it and engage them so that they can know their grievances and what have you.
And also there are also some erroneous. I don't know how true it is anyway, so I shouldn't call it erroneous, alleged that embedded in the tax reform bill of this derivation is the role of consultants. And people are saying, oh, like what happens now, but they are coming out to say that no, there's nothing.
They are going to collect it directly. I think they need for clarification, because Alpha Beta has been in the news for since since Tinubu was in governor, and people need to have cautious optimism that the same thing might appear.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Ali Elias. It's always a pleasure to have you on the program.
Thank you
Just
for
like I
having
look
me.
forward to having you same time next week, Monday. Well, viewers, on this note, we draw the curtain on today's program, Inside Nigeria. It was brought to you on Leadership Television. I look forward to having you same time, same station tomorrow for another fresh edition of the program. My name is Winifred Bebo. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for watching. For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080-3688-6158. Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio. You have the